Coming up on the first episode of the MonsterTalk Report, we take a look at all of the exciting action happening in the world of monster trucks, including Kayla Blood competing in Australia, Monster Jam announcing the 2023 schedule announcement, a preview of the end of the 2022 season and looking into next season, as well as all of the latest news in the industry. So get ready, because it's time for the Monster Talk Report! Hello and welcome everyone to the first ever Monster Talk Report, the definitive place for news, results, and everything happening in the monster truck industry. My name is Jackson Morris and I am joined by my good friend Ewan. And Ewan, let's just jump straight into the episode because we have a lot of news and we want to get through this amazing show that we have lined up for you. So we're going to start off with the first bit of news. Vendetta has received an Eddie chassis. It's a brand new chassis. It's completely different to what they've normally run. They had horrible luck with the older chassis for 2022. And honestly, it looks really good. Is there any benefits that the Team Throttle Monster might have with this new Eddie chassis?
I believe it'll definitely be better than the old one because that old chassis didn't look good. The Eddie one does look good now.
Now, we will see it in action probably at the, I don't know about the end of the year, maybe heading into next year. I think it will come into play, so we'll be excited to see what happens with the Vendetta truck in 2023. We're going to move on to our next story, and this is one that really resonates well with me, Ewan, and it relates to me especially, is Kayla Blood replaces Brianna Mahan for the Australian tour. So Brianna Mahan made a post on Instagram last week, which I'll read out. She wrote, "Surprise, we've been keeping a huge secret. Baby Bowles is a girl. I have always loved being a role model for females all around the world, showing them that women can do anything men can do. And now I get to continue that legacy with the little badass girl and pave the way for her to chase her dreams. Unfortunately, this means I will not get to go to Australia and debut Whiplash internationally. However, my girl Kayla Blood has stepped up and will be the one representing for all the ladies over there, showing them how it's done." For me, I'm still excited because we have never seen Kayla Blood compete. She's had a good season too, and obviously Brianna is taking this time off. And I'm just excited to see Kayla, and I want to hear your thoughts, Ewan. What do you think of Kayla Blood driving in Australia?
I think it's going to be a great experience for her because she is, I would say, probably the best female driver on the circuit right now, and she's going to Australia, so she's going to be good wherever she goes.
Absolutely, and now you gotta remember too, actually I wrote this down, is that not only is this her first time competing in Australia, but it is also the first time another woman has driven Whiplash, and of course the only other time that has happened was in 2018, where Brianna failed a corkscrew and she actually was injured for a while. So Cynthia stepped behind the wheel of Whiplash. So this is the second time another woman has drove it, and it is definitely the first time another woman has driven Whiplash overseas. So I'm interested to see that, and she's actually been having a really good season. You said before that she is the best woman driver in Monster Jam. She's had a few freestyle wins. Do you have anything to comment on that at all?
She's just been solid throughout her stadium tour, and she's been solid throughout her arenas in Q2 thus far. She's just been really good through this entire season.
Absolutely. Now we're going to move on to our next story, and this is the biggest one that we have here today. It is the Monster Jam schedule announcement. The biggest news, and this is what we want to focus on today. is that the announcement of the 2023 schedule announcement has been confirmed. It is coming in about 6 or 7 days from now, maybe even less. It will be held on September 12th at 7 p.m. EST on monsterjam.com. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, so we'll save our theories and all that. This is where the real discussion is going to come into play. I did want to actually talk, and this is where, we'll get to hear a bit more of our thoughts. It's the conclusion of the 2022 Monster Jam season. Now, of course, the next 3 weeks are in September. There will be arena shows. Duluth, Georgia from September 10th to 11th. Rosemont, Illinois from September 16th to 18th. And Reno, Nevada from September 23rd to 25th. Now, these shows are obviously arenas, and they've been what we've been seeing the last couple of weeks. Of course, Reno is the biggest venue out of all of them, and Reno always has great shows. They've had some really good lineups too. We get to see more of Brittany Marcotte, who has really only, she came back a little bit last year, funny enough, around this time, and she competed, again, only the tiniest bit this year. So, what are your thoughts on these September shows?
I think it's going to be great as for Duluth. We have a lot of experienced drivers here, though, a few TBAs so far. It's going to be a good show to see what Brittany can do, as we only seen her once or twice this year so far.
And of course, this is the big one that I wanted to talk about, because after that October, it's where the schedule goes bonkers. It's my favorite part, and I believe you're going to one of these shows, but we'll get to that in just a second. So, in the United States, Glendale, Arizona will host a show on October 1st. Albuquerque, New Mexico will break up the string of stadium shows that will be coming up. And Albuquerque will be on October 7th to 9th. Arlington, Texas will be on October 15th. And Ewan, I believe this is where you're going to, correct me if I'm wrong?
Yep, I am going to Arlington this year.
Absolutely. And after that will be Houston, Texas on October 22nd and Orlando, Florida on October 29th. Now, before we get to November, these stadium shows are really interesting. Orlando is the biggest surprise. I don't think for the longest time, we've had an October Orlando show in quite some time. So maybe they wanted to just fit a regular stadium show in Camping World Stadium. I'm interested about that. And of course, Glendale this is where we start to see Monster Jam's what I'll call trial period. So that means that they're trying new tracks, they're trying new things, maybe new rides. We see Lindsay Reed returning to Monster Mutt Dalmatian, so she's normally been driving Scooby-Doo. Maybe that's something that might happen in next season. And in every other year, they've done, as I said, they've done trial runs for what they want to do next season, mainly track-wise. They tried the Crazy 8 style. And then, of course, last year they brought out the paperclip style, which we hadn't seen before until then. There's a potential that we might see something new this year. And the lineups are really interesting too, because some of the big players, as we'll get into, are going to be overseas. So, do you have any thoughts on these October shows?
The one I'm going to, Arlington, is always a good show at Arlington, but I get to see the classic, Anderson rivalry between Adam and Ryan, and I also get to see Brandon Budd in Wasted Nights, which I believe he's the first time he's been down here.
It's a big stadium show for him as well, and I do want to ask about, with the trial period, is there anything that you would like to add on to that, or what you think I might have missed anything?
The trial period is going to be interesting to see what they do in the schedule announcement video, to see what tracks they come up with. Because if they have a new track, they're probably going to test it out in Arlington and Glendale, because those are the two biggest stadiums that they have on the circuit right now. So I'll probably see the new track. If not, then probably Glendale will see the new track, if there is one.
I do want to point that out, that I am positive that if there is a new track, it will be in Glendale. Moving on to November, there are no stadium shows announced. However, there are various arena shows that are scheduled. Now, of course, this is the moment that I am very passionate about, and obviously you know why, because October is the continuation of the Overseas Monster Jam Tour and making their glorious return to not just one, but 2 Australian cities. It is going to be in Melbourne on October 1st for 2 shows, and October 8th in Sydney for a single show. This is the first time that they have been here. The first time they've been in Melbourne since 2019, and the first time they've been in Sydney since 2018. So these Australian fans have been waiting a long time, including myself. And there is a lot of action that is going on there, and we'll get to that as we continue to go through the rest of the overseas schedule. A week later, Monster Jam heads to Tampere, Finland from October 14th to 16th. It has a very similar lineup, and it is an arena show. It is not a stadium show, unlike Australia. After that, they take a huge break, and they return on November 4th to 6th, where they head to San Juan, Puerto Rico, with probably the most interesting lineup we've ever seen. Of course, just a reminder, that is the one with Charlie Porkin in Monster Rottweiler, Mark List in Max D, and Cody Saucier in a to-be-announced truck. We don't know what it is yet. Don't know why they haven't announced it. They just haven't. After that, they take another big break, and they return to Arnhem, Holland, as for the first time since 2014. They returned to the Guerrilla Dome. This is where they've done the Team Marvel vs. Team Destruction shows, if you remember any of them, and the huge Arnhem shows that they've done in the past. I am so happy. I'm not even going to Holland, but they are returning to this beautiful venue, and it is so legendary that you get to see Monster Jam, how it was in the Guerrilla Dome versus Monster Jam now in the Guerrilla Dome. So we'll go by each one of these very quickly, but we'll start off with the Australian tour. Of course, it's the one that I'm going to. Ewan, we have a very good lineup down here in Australia. Is there anything that you would like to add about the Australia tour?
Yeah, I mean, you got Brandon Vincent, you got Colt Stevens returning, which is a surprise to me, and then you got Kayla Blood, and you got the rest of these drivers. And it's going to be a good tour for them.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Colt Stevens is making his Monster Jam return down here. Now, of course, Tampere, Finland is an arena show. It's a very similar lineup, and I think it's going to be good. But the thing I want to talk about most is San Juan, Puerto Rico, with that really interesting lineup. Is there anything that you're excited for, or I guess that we can see in Puerto Rico?
It's going to be very interesting to see what they're doing here, because they got Charlie Porkin and Rottweiler and Mark List and Max D. I wonder if they're trying something with that to see if Mark List is a Max D caliber driver now. We'll never know what they're thinking, but it's interesting to see.
That's an interesting thought. I think they might actually be trying out new Max D drivers, because of course, you know, Tom Mance has been going for a long time, and I hate saying things like this, but maybe he might be. I mean, you've got to remember too, he's been driving monster trucks. I think next year is his 30th year behind the wheel, and it would be his 20th year in Max D. So that's a long time being behind the wheel of a truck. Obviously, Dennis Anderson drove for about 35 years until he had that accident. Tom Mance might be on his way out, and that would be horrible, but they might be trying new Max D drivers to take over that mantle. And the other thing that I wanted to touch upon is the Guerrilla Dome in Arnhem, Holland. It's going to be a really, really interesting show. And is there anything that you would like to talk about about the Arnhem show?
Though we don't know the lineup yet, we can assume at least Randy Brown and Peter Nyman will be there. And the Gelderdome is always a good show. They always put on a good show there for the Dutch fans. It's just going to be a good show.
Absolutely, and this is the most exciting part of this episode, Ewan, because this is where we really get to speculate about the next season. because with the schedule announcement coming up soon, we've already started to see some stuff for next year. So we're just going to jump straight into it. We've had a partial lineup reveal. This was really surprising. It is for Greensboro, North Carolina, and I believe this is going to be for the Arena Tour East. The following trucks and drivers are Brandon Vincent in Gravedigger, Cody Saucier in Dragon, Michaela Talachka in Megalodon, Brandon Talachka in Just Get It Done, Terminal Velocity with John Zimmer Jr., and Wildside with Zach Garner. This has a lot of, interesting trucks and interesting drivers, and I'm just really excited to see the Talachkas return. But not only that, Michaela Talachka gets to drive in Monster Jam, and not only that, she gets to drive Megalodon, which is a truck that I never thought that they would give. This is the first time a female's driving the Megalodon, so I'm really excited to see that. And putting Brandon Vincent and Cody Saucier on a tour, I think, is really interesting. And this might be the competition that Brandon needed, because obviously with Arena Tour West this year, he was so dominant, and now they're really spicing things up by putting Cody and Brandon on the same tour. But you gotta remember, Ewan, too, that they've got Zach Garner in Wildside and John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. So this tour is just stacked from start to finish. What do you think of this tour and this partial lineup that we've seen?
To be honest, I have to disagree with you on the Cody Saucier being in close competition with Brandon. What I've seen from Cody Saucier this year in arenas has been, he was good the start of the year, but he really faltered at the end. And Brandon was consistent throughout the year. I'm going to say Brandon Vincent, easy win on the tour, easy points champion. That is my prediction for this tour, if this is the full tour lineup.
That is, and thank you for bringing that up too, because not only that, this is only 6 trucks. Most arena tours are 8 trucks, so I think this might be the same case as this year, where they only had 6 set trucks and they recycled them from show to show. So they had 2 rotating fill-ins. So every week they got 2 new fill-ins. We could see that again, hence why the lineup is only 6 long. We also could not. We really don't know until we see that schedule announcement. And I do agree with you on the fact that Brandon Vincent will walk away as the points champion for next season, but I still think Cody Saucier will put up a fight for that championship. We're going to move on to our next bit. There is 2 stadium tours and 3 arena tours. I'm confident with that. I don't know why they would decrease it, and I certainly don't know why they would increase it either. So I'm confident with that. But there may be some potential surprises. We've just seen the Talachkas return. There may be even more new independents and some switch-ups with all of that. And new teams and new rides. There may be a new truck again. There may be a new, driver pairing. Obviously, the most interesting one that we've seen that I'm confident will stick for next season is Lindsay Reed in Monster Mutt Dalmatian. Could Scooby-Doo be on its way out? Who really knows? And I'm just excited to see what we could see in the next season. And Ewan, I'm gonna ask you, what are your thoughts on this, stuff that we're starting to see or could be seeing for next season?
I mean, for Scooby-Doo, I could see it returning once again and in arenas, but to be honest, Scooby-Doo was kind of getting old for a while, and they just stuck it in arena. And so I'm down to see more Monster Mutt Dalmatians come back, as we didn't really see it this year that much. As part of the potential surprises, new independents, I could see maybe the Toxic Tea coming in for an arena tour or two. I mean, Monster Jam is always putting out new renders of different trucks they want to debut. So we'll see what they do with it.
And of course, the other thing that I wanted to mention too is that the schedule announcement is really going to be an important thing for next year, and it's going to, I guess, give us a taste for what we can expect and all of these brand new tours. And you are right, there are a lot of renders, but it really is just a matter of what they choose to do. And I think that another independent team that could come in would be Brandon Budd in Wasted Nights. Of course, he did the toughest monster truck tour. He was driving the Bigfoot truck on his chassis. And some drivers may be prioritizing these indie tours less and focusing on Monster Jams. We really don't know what to expect until we see that announcement on the 12th. Again, it is going to be on September 12th, 7 p.m. EST. I'm really looking forward to it. And unfortunately, that is all we have for today's Monster Talk Report. Make sure you guys let us know what you think of the Monster Talk Report, because me and Ewan have been devising this for a while and we're really happy to bring this to you. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon with some more Monster Truck content. Good night, everybody.